Hey, it's Gwen. Welcome back to my channel and welcome if you are new. I am back with a DIY video for Valentine's Day for 2023. I am sharing 4 of my DIYs. Hope you enjoy my video. Give me a thumbs up if you do. Don't forget to like and subscribe if you haven't already. And please share my videos. Don't forget to comment as well. That really helps out this channel. I am hoping to grow my channel by leaving a comment or sharing my videos to those who you think may enjoy watching my videos. Will truly help out my channel and help YouTube to notice me a little bit more so they can recommend my channel to other people who are interested in it just as well. Now, without further ado, let's get on with these DIYs. For this first DIY, I am taking one of Dollar Tree's foam hearts. It's a rather good size heart. It has so much potential. You can do so much with it. So if you're lucky enough to find this at your Dollar Tree, definitely grab it while you can. I had this from last Valentine's. I was not able to use all the ones that I had purchased. So I'm going ahead and making use of it for this year. First off, I took some of this pale pink yarn that came from Walmart. I got it on clearance sometime during the summer. And I'm just simply wrapping this foam heart in different directions and making sure to place a little dab of hot glue on each, not necessarily every piece that you put down, but in different points so that it adheres to the foam heart and you don't have your yarn unraveling, and making sure that it stays in place. So here I've just sped up the process. You can see that I'm just repeating it all the way through until I have this foam heart completely covered in this beautiful colored yarn. And you can buy yarn from Dollar Tree as well, but I already had this in my stash and I do like this color. It's not like a baby pink, but it's like a blush pink. And I also like the texture that it has. It's not just a flat yarn. It has sort of like a, I don't know, like a crinkled or some type of like thickness to it, if you will. So I'm just repeating the steps until I have this fully covered. Next up, I'm taking a Dollar Tree wood heart cutout. I'm just using it as a template in order to cut out the shape of the heart in the size that I needed to be able to place this in the center of that yarn covered heart. This furry rug is something that I already owned. It's an old rug that we weren't using anymore, so I did keep it with the intention of using it for any future DIYs. So this was definitely the perfect DIY to use this for. I just decided to use this wood heart as a template and just cut around it. No need to trace or anything like that. It's just easy to just cut around since the wood heart is sturdy and it's stiff, so it's not like paper where it's just gonna fold up. So it was easy to just cut around the shape. And here I'm just sort of giving this fur a trim. It is a little shaggy, so I wanted to just trim off the long pieces. After deciding on where I wanted this furry heart to go, I just used some hot glue to adhere that furry heart to the center of the yarn covered heart. Next, I wanted to trim off this heart. I could have left it the way it was. It looked fine just the way it is, but I like to go a little extra and add more embellishments to my DIYs. So here I've just taken some scrap lace that I had in my stash and just sort of traced around the furry heart, and using some hot glue, just glued that into place. Now, after gluing that down, I realized that that step was probably not necessary to do since it really didn't create like such a big wow factor, and it wasn't as visible as I thought it would be. So I went around with another piece of this lace trim. It's not really lace, but it's like a ruffle trim. Again, I've already had in my stash. I've had this for many years, so I'm sure you can find this at like a fabric store where they sell like trims, like Joann's or something like that, or any thrift stores. But I had this in my stash, so I went ahead and used it to sort of go over the first layer of that lace around this heart, just giving a little bit more depth and dimension. And it did add a little bit more pizzazz, and I think it stands out a little bit more. I think using that ruffled trim definitely makes that center fur area pop. Now I couldn't just leave well enough alone. Of course, I had to embellish it a little bit more. So taking some of the Sola flowers I've had in my stash, once again, they came from Dollar Tree, but I do believe you can purchase them online. But I am using just Dollar Tree supplies mostly, and Walmart, and some other random finds from my craft room. But those little roses are, I guess they're made out of wood or something, but they're just in this natural color. And I wanted to just add those to this heart, just adding more embellishments as needed. And it looked really cute with tying into the neutral, colors that I'm using in this DIY. Then I knew I wanted to add some sort of greenery, and I took some of my scrap pieces of greenery, such as that fern. And first I was thinking of putting that whole piece, but then I figured it looked to be a little too much in your face. So I went ahead and trimmed that into small pieces, just giving a little added touch of that green popping in between the little roses. And in contrast with the white trim and the fur, I thought that it gave it just enough pop of green and contrast color. I just glued all the pieces down using some hot glue. I did go ahead and make a simple bow using more of that lace ribbon. Just tied it into a simple bow and hot glued it to the corner behind the roses. And to finish off this project, I wanted to use some pearls that came from Dollar Tree, and I was just trying to figure out the placement of where I thought these pearl beads should go, just again adding a little bit more of that feminine touch. And that will do it for this DIY. I think by adding some pearl beads, and the lace definitely adds that romantic vintage feel. And I really enjoyed this project, and I really think it came out cute. I hope you guys like it too. For my next DIY, I am taking one of Dollar Tree's letterboards. It came in this natural finish, and I'm using Apothecary Color by DIY Paint and just giving it a good coat, just making sure to cover all of the edges. Next, I did purchase this stencil that came from Amazon, and it's in this variety of different green sack stripes. And I knew I wanted to add a green sack stripe to this project because I like the look of that whole French farmhouse feel, and I like the contrast of the green sack stripes over this apothecary color. I think it looks really nice. So I went ahead and decided to place the stripe in the center. Although initially I did want it to go along the side of the wood letterboard vertically, but that would be a little difficult just because it has those ridges. So I didn't want to take my chances of it not coming out right. So I decided to go over the flat surface, which is in the center of this letterboard. So I'm using a pouncer or a stencil brush or a stencil foam brush. I just took some of Waverly's white chalk paint, making sure you don't load your paintbrush too much and making sure to offload your paintbrush so that you don't get bleed through. So I'm making sure that my paint brush or my sponge brush has very little paint in it, and then I'm making sure to offload most of that paint. So I'm getting just a faint look. Now, when that part was done, I was deciding on the wording that I wanted to go on here. This is a letterboard, so you can create any type of signs or any labels or anything like that, people's names or what have you. But in this case, since it is a Valentine's DIY and I did intend on putting like a photo of a loved one, I decided to go with the words mi amor. So again, in keeping with sort of that French look, I felt that phrase was pretty suitable for this DIY. So I just went ahead with it, but you can choose any type of phrases or words that you want. If you just want to put love or be mine or I love you, XOXO, the sky's the limit. You can choose what words you want this to display, but I went ahead with that particular phrase, which again I thought was very suitable for the look and the occasion that I was creating this for. I took one of Dollar Tree's clothespins that had the rose laser cut attached to it already. It was in a pack that came with red and pink, and I chose that blush pink color. That blush pink is a very nice contrast to that apothecary color in my opinion. So I went ahead with that color rather than the red. And in order to further embellish this, I went ahead and added a rose to the corner. It's just a burlap with paper rose as well as a lace ribbon. And I think that rose came in a pack. It could be from maybe Hobby Lobby or possibly Dollar Tree. I can't recall. I've had it for so long, so I apologize. I couldn't tell you, but I'm sure any craft store would carry it in their paper crafting supply area. But this is how it turned out, and I think it is adorable. Now we're moving on to DIY number 3, and I am using, once again, one of Dollar Tree's DIY pins. And this time I will be taking the red color. I'm also using one of these galvanized metal envelopes that came around fall. And then from my stash, I am taking one of my music sheets and just tracing out that envelope and cutting around it. I will be using a glue stick to adhere that music sheet into the envelope. But before moving on to that step, I did have to remove this paper. I didn't remove it entirely. I just did the top portion, as you can see here, because some of the paper was coming out, like it wasn't flush to the envelope, and it would have just started peeling off if I didn't remove it. So I went ahead, just removed enough to where nothing was hanging over. So then I went ahead and just glued this music sheet on inside of this envelope with the help of that spackling spatula. I also used some Distress ink from Tim Holtz and just went to town rubbing this all over the music sheet, just giving it that vintage distressed finish. I did forget to mention that I removed the beads because I didn't want to use that center bead color that they had. It was in the orange color. So I went ahead and painted that in Waverly's Crimson color just to tie in with the Valentine's look. I kept the white as they were, and I just made sure to add that red accent color in there. I used a nail file to just file off any of the excess music sheet that was hanging over, just giving it a finished look. Next, I took some of Dollar Tree's jar decor. It's this sort of embossed sticker. It looks like lace, and I thought it was pretty and it would look super cute on this DIY, just giving it a more feminine look. And I just chose a design that I liked and pretty much cut that down the middle to make it thinner so that I had two pieces to work with, so that I can stick that to either side of this envelope just like so. So this is a sticker, so you just have to peel off the backing and just add it to your project. Really easy. I think these are super handy to have on hand and make great embellishments on the fly if you want to spruce up anything. So after I had that lined up, I just went ahead and cut off the excess. The next step was to take this decorated clothespin and decide on where I wanted to glue it down. And this is essentially going to hold the photo or whatever it is that you want to put in here. It could be a love letter, a note, anything that you want. But I thought it looked cute with a picture inside. And you can give this as a gift as well. That would make a nice sentimental gift for anyone. Or you can keep it for yourself and it would just be a nice piece to decorate your home with. So next I took this sticker sheet from Dollar Tree and I chose this love sticker in the shape of a heart and just topped off the center of where the two pieces of the lace sticker met. That about does it for this DIY. I am super happy with the way this came out. I hope you guys like this one just as much as I do. It's amazing what you can do with such a simple piece from the dollar store, and just by simply adding your own touches to it and creating a fabulous piece such as this. Let me know what you guys think in the comments down below. For my fourth and final DIY of this video, I am taking one of 99-cent Store's plastic heart tray, which I bought last year. So I'm not sure if you can find it this Valentine's, but if you have something similar to it that you can use, you can definitely make use of that. I also took some pool noodles, which I used for Christmas DIY, but I repurposed it. And I am just simply cutting it down the middle to create a flat surface in order for me to glue that down to this heart tray. Here I'm just sort of sizing it down, making sure that they would fit inside of this tray. And using some Aleene's tacky glue along with a little hot glue, I'm just simply gluing these pieces of pool noodles down into the tray. And any pieces that are left over or scrap pieces, I will just use to fill in any of the empty spaces. Next, I'm using a fabric fat quarter from Walmart, which I got from their clearance section last summer. And I'll just be using some hot glue to glue this fabric into place. Essentially, I want to tuck the fabric in between each of those dips, just making sure to pull tightly so that they will glue into the ridges, accentuating the little bumps that the pull noodle creates. And you want to just keep pulling taut on the fabric and gluing it down, just sort of running your fingers into the ridges just to make sure that you have good adhesion. Next, you'll want to go ahead and glue all of the edges down into place, again using more of that hot glue, and just making sure that you are tucking in very tightly and gluing, and just making sure all the edges are laid flat and fully secure. I apologize that this is sort of out of frame, but you pretty much get the gist of what I am doing here. Then the next step is to go ahead and trim off all the excess fabric. You can turn your project upside down so that you can see how much of the fabric to cut off. So essentially, I am just trimming around, making sure to leave enough allowance so that you are left with some fabric overhanging, just creating a ruffled edge. Now, this was not my original intention. Originally, I was going to cut it so that it was flush to the tray, but then I liked the look of this and I decided to just leave it the way it was. Next, I'm using one of Dollar Tree's doilies. This can be found in their kitchen section, I believe. And I'm just trimming off the edges and leaving the center part. Now, ultimately, I did just end up cutting this in half and using this as an accent piece, which you will see shortly. I decided to cut off some scrap pieces of trim and ribbon that either came from Hobby Lobby, Dollar Tree, or things that I already had in my stash. And I'm just simply cutting those ribbons and trims down to size. And I wanted to have one for each of those ridges, just sort of to accentuate the little dips where the pull noodle separates from, for each other. I added hot glue to adhere all the pieces of ribbons and trims down. Again, you're going to want to put this in between all of where your foam dips to create that ridge and to sort of accentuate that area. That's the look I was going for. So you'll want to press into the ridge, just making sure that your ribbon is glued in securely. I decided to use that piece of doily as an accent piece in between the two felt roses that came from Dollar Tree. And those came in a pack. They had red as well. And they might have came in other colors, but I did just choose the pink one. I like the contrast of the pink and the grays. So I'm just sort of twisting and gluing that piece of doily into place and fluffing out the flowers and just sort of making adjustments as needed until I was happy with the way it looked. Next, I wanted to use some of this Dollar Tree wired twine to accentuate the heart shape. So I went ahead and just used some hot glue and outlined the shape of this heart, just making sure to push and press into the gaps and into the fabric so that the wired twine will stay in place. And I really like the look that this gave. It just sort of added a little bit more interest to this piece, a little bit more color to this piece. And if this is something that you don't necessarily like the look of, you can definitely leave that part out. But personally, I just think that it added a little bit more interest to it, and I am happy with that decision. Last but not least, I am taking a scrap piece of ribbon, which I dyed in coffee, or I should say stained in coffee. And I use a combination of Tite Bond as well as hot glue to glue that piece of ribbon into place to create that hanger. And that does it for this DIY. I'm very excited about the way this came out. This would make such a cute display in your home or as a gift. You can definitely display your photos, postcards, notes, anything that you want. Most of these DIYs is for display purposes, especially for photos and cards and whatnot. And I am very happy how these came out. I hope you got some great ideas for some Valentine's decor. Let me know if you plan on trying any of these DIYs, and let me know what your favorite was. Leave me a comment down below. I would truly appreciate hearing from you. And if you haven't already, please consider subscribing. I will see you in my next video. Until next time, take care.